Hello everyone, this is Laura from Three Kittens Needle Arts, and I am going to show you how to make tassels and pom-poms using some great tools that we have here in the store. Tassels and pom-poms are wonderful, obviously, for decorating hats, but you could also use them. I'm thinking a lot about using tassels like these to decorate Christmas presents this year. Gift wrapping is a great way to showcase these. You can tie them onto a piece of ribbon and wrap them around your present. Tassels are also great at the ends of scarves. I'm sure there are many other options for using tassels that I can't think of right now, but use your imagination, you'll come up with some great things. So tassels are easy to make, especially using these great little animal tassel makers from Katrinkles, and I'm going to show you how to use these. We're going to make a 2-inch tassel today, so I'm going to put the 1-inch and 3-inch tassel makers aside. These come as a set of 3. So you get all 3 of those, the 1-inch, 2-inch, and 3-inch tassels in the package. What you also need is a tapestry needle and a pair of scissors and, of course, some yarn. So I'm going to use this lovely orange yarn. This is Blue Sky Fibers wool stock, one of my favorite yarns, and this is actually left over from a sweater that I just made. So now I just have to find the end. I'm one of those people who likes to pull from the center of a ball, so let's just do that. First, you're going to want to cut a length of yarn, and I cut maybe 15 inches. It probably doesn't need to be that long, but you're gonna want to start with a length of yarn. And then you're going to wrap the yarn around the animal's neck couple of times just to hold it in place, and then you're going to hold it over the animal's back. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm sorry, hold it over the animal's leg, not the back. If it falls off of here, it's not the end of the world. The idea is that you want to wrap your yarn that's making the tassel in between these markings here. It says cut here, and there's a kind of like a range line here, and then tie here, same line. So we're going to start to wrap our yarn. So you're just taking the yarn from your ball of yarn, and you're going to go over this yarn that you wrapped around the neck and just leave that off on the side. And I actually find it easier to flip the animal over at this point and have the tail of the yarn on the other side, because I'm right-handed and I want to wrap with my right hand, not my left hand. Unfortunately, there are no markings on this side, so periodically I just have to go, oh wait, let's push this over and get it in between those markers. And the markers are going this way, so we're gonna go this way as well. Of course, my yarn's getting a little tangled, but that's normal. And you're just going to do a bunch of them, as many as you feel like you need. You don't need to overdo it, but don't underdo it as well. And then, if you have enough yarn, just do a couple of test runs until you get the right amount of yarn that you want for your tassel. All right. So I think that's probably enough for me. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the yarn close to the leg of the animal. And now I'm just going to set it down for a minute, and I'm going to cut another length of yarn. And again, I'm doing about 15 inches, but you probably don't need to do that long. And then I'm going to thread this yarn onto my tapestry needle. Flip this guy over. And I just want to keep that tail that I had wrapped around the neck of the animal out of the way. And you're going to take your yarn and go through the slot to the left of the tassel, and then pull it up. I'm not pulling it all the way up, there's the tail right there. And then go through the slot on the other side of the tassel, back up through the original slot, and just do this a couple of times. I'm going to do it 3 times. And then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to take my tapestry needle off. I'm going to tie the 2 ends together. And I want to pull pretty tightly when I do the first one. And then I'm going to just tie again. I think that's a square knot, but don't quote me on that. All right, and then I'm going to trim my ends to be about the length of the animal's legs again. All right, now comes the fun part. Well, no, I'm sorry, we don't get to cut yet. We're going to untie the yarn that's around the animal's neck. And I'm going to pull it about equal to the ends. It doesn't have to be, but just makes it easier. And then I'm going to tie this, kind of like I tied the wrap around the tassel, just in what I think is a square knot. And this will be the yarn that you use to attach your tassel to whatever you're attaching it to. All right, you have a couple of choices now, because now is the time to cut. You can either insert your your scissors in here and cut along the edge, or this is my preference, but you know, it's just because I've had some experience making these. Try it whichever way you want to. So I'm just going to slide all of this off of the animal, which in this case is a llama. And you can see that hole there, that's where I want to insert my scissors. So I'm going to insert my scissors, and before I cut, I'm just going to pull it all tight. Try to get as much, evenness as I can, and then snip it. That was the piece that was the original at the beginning, so I'm snipping that off. These 2 pieces, this is the tie from where we tied the around the tassel. They're gonna want to stick up, but you're just going to kind of force them down. And then, so now you have your tassel. There you go. There's the tassel. You can slide this up and down if you need to, but keep in mind that the ends that you had tied back here will also slide up and down, so you don't want to go too far. But there you go, tassel made, easy peasy. So now I'm going to show you how to make a pom-pom using the Clover pom-pom makers. They come in different sizes. This one is a combo size. You get both of these sizes in the package. There's also an enormous one that's probably about this big. And then there's a teeny tiny one for little bitty tassels. So what I've done with these is, this big one is this size, and I believe the rest of them are the next size down, but I'm not going to guarantee that because I made them a few days ago. All right, so I'm going to show you on the smaller one. So the first thing you're going to want to do is open up the legs of the tassel maker. All right, and then you're going to take your yarn and you're going to do a lot of wrapping. So I'm going to use this raggy yarn, and we'll start wrapping. So I'm just gonna choose one set of legs. I like to have the curve kind of pointing upwards. It doesn't really matter. You do whatever makes sense to you. And then you're just gonna start wrapping around. Now, it is important when you're wrapping to not just wrap in the center of the legs, in this part. That's what tends to want to happen. So the first round, I just try to cover everything from side to side once. And then after that, I am less cautious, so I'm not getting them quite as close together in the second round. But I am always trying to make sure I wrap close to the edge, to these two edges here, as well as getting in the middle. The reason that that's important is that if this section becomes much more thick than the wrapping on the edges, then you're going to have a shape. You're going to have longer strands in here than you do on the edges, and your shape won't be quite as round. So, and what I'm going to tell you is you need to wrap way more than you think you need to wrap. You're going to wrap until you feel like you cannot wrap anymore, that nothing else will fit. It will just all fall off. So keep wrapping. The key with pom-poms is to have them very full. If they're not full, they look scraggly, which is not what you want. Okay, I think I'm about done, but I'm just gonna wrap a few more times. Okay. So when you're closing it up, you need to hold your yarn in the center here and then close these legs up. And now you get to do the other side. So if I wanted to, I could do a second color here. I haven't tried that in a long time, so let's just try it. I've got some more yarn here. I've got some blue. We're gonna just cut this one off. And we'll add this knitted worsted on the other side, just for fun. Don't worry about the ends hanging down. Those will be trimmed off later. And if you do something like this where the yarn goes over the leg, just push it off. Okay, we're gonna close that up. All right, so there you go. You've got your pom-pom ready to cut. I'm gonna trim this. Actually, I'm just gonna lay it over the top. You're gonna insert your scissors into the little gap between the legs here. There's a little groove in there, so I kind of try to have my scissors in that groove. And it's probably easier with larger scissors. I didn't bring larger scissors over here with me, so we'll do the best we can. Always use your fabric scissors to get the nicest cut. keep going to the other side. Oh, fabric scissors would have been a good idea. Okay, it's all cut all the way around. So now we are going to take a long piece of yarn, and I'm going to say maybe half a yard, and you're going to insert it in these grooves. So I just push it down, and then I turn this over and pull it up. I'm going to try to get this more even because I think I have one side longer than the other. And then cross your two strands and pull it down inside and pull tight. Then what I like to do is flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. Cross them over and pull tight, and then you're going to knot it. And I usually just do one knot on this. Okay. Now you can see right here that we've got one strand that's really long. We will trim that in a minute. Now you pull this apart. No, I'm sorry. Don't do that yet. Now you have to open up the legs. I would suggest doing them one at a time, not trying to do two at a time. And I'm just kind of pushing the yarn out of the way so it doesn't grab on to the leg and pull out. I really haven't ever had that happen, but it's better to be safe than sorry, right? Now you get to pull it apart. So grab the white sections and just pull it apart. And then you shake it out. And then it's time to trim. Now, I would not worry too much if your ball is not perfectly round, but you are welcome to trim away. Like here's one that's a little long, so I'm going to trim that one off. But it's easy to get a little perfectionistic about this and think, oh my gosh, it's lopsided. It's you know, there are pieces sticking out all over the place. But you know what? Most people aren't going to notice that. And now you have a two-colored ball. It's blue on the bottom and gray on the top. So that's how you make a pom-pom with the great Clover pom-pom makers. I will never ever go back to a cardboard pom-pom maker. So there you go. I hope you have fun with your pom-poms. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say, so this one is a multicolored yarn that stripes, but you can, if you don't have a multicolored yarn that stripes, but you wanted to use two colors, like say you wanted to make a two-color one with the gray and the blue, but you don't want it to be separated in colors. You want it to just kind of be mixed together. You can take one strand of each, and guess what? It'll take less time to wrap as well, and wrap this way. So there you go. That is how you make some pom-poms. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but I would highly recommend the Clover pom-pom makers and the Katrinkles tassel makers.